start. Pawb, good morning everyone. My name's Stephen Williams from Swansea Council, as mentioned. Welcome to this month's Business Swansea Enterprise Club session, launching our pre-start grant. The first part of the session will be myself and my colleague Matt Callahan from Swansea Council providing an overview of the pre-start grant, the eligibility criteria and the application process. We will have a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A from you guys. That's something that you can obviously involve yourself with. I'm sure there'd be a lot of questions that you'll have. In order to support your application, there's a requirement as well to submit a business plan and cash flow forecast. So in the second part of our session, our colleagues from Business Wales will be providing an overview of the support that they give our startups with regards to constructing business plans and cash flows. So they'll have 45 minutes in the second part.
Okay, so as Steve mentioned, I work alongside Steve in the same role, focusing on business support, business engagement, and for the next couple of years or so, our work is going to be focused to a large extent on delivering these business grants, including the pre-start grant that we're announcing today. But I'll come on to cover indeed exactly what it is. So a bit of background. Through what is called the Government's Shared Prosperity Fund, Swansea Council has been allocated in the region of £35 million, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but if you share that across all the work programmes that we've got to deliver over the next couple of years or so, that money soon gets allocated. 2 million of that is going in various grant programmes that we'll be launching over the next month or so, including the startup grant that we'll be covering in some detail today. So whilst there's 5 grants that we're going to be providing to local businesses across a number of themes, I think there's 2 in particular that will be of interest to you as startup businesses and pre-start businesses. And what we'll do is we'll cover these in a little bit of detail and then give you the chance to ask any questions that you've got around eligibility and the specifics of what's required to get you through the door in terms of being able to apply for these funds. Okay. So the first of which is the Pre-Start Business Grant. So as the name suggests, this is available to pre-start businesses, in other words, those businesses that haven't registered yet, and a website development grant that, again, as the name suggests, is for businesses looking to launch a website for the first time or develop one that already exists to enhance it. Okay, so the pre-start grant, as the name suggests, is for pre-start businesses only. So the scope of this has changed a little bit from what we've done previously. And there are sort of various reasons that I won't go into in too much detail. But essentially, we have got a fairly narrow criteria by which we need to report outputs and outcomes back to central government. In other words, for every piece of funding that we hand out for this, we've got to demonstrate that a business has been created off the back of it. So for that reason, this grant is now available to pre-start businesses only. And that means one of 2 things in terms of eligibility, okay? Firstly, for individuals that have not yet registered themselves as self-employed with HMRC, or businesses that have not yet registered the business with Companies House. So when you submit your application back to us, at the time that you submit the application, you must either not be registered as self-employed with HMRC, or the business must not yet be registered with Companies House. After, and if we approve your grant, and before you submit your claim, you have to tick one of those 2 boxes. So again, going back to this point, the subject, and because of the grant funding that we will have allocated to you, you have then had the confidence to go forward, register the business, or register yourself as self-employed, okay? So the really important point of this, and it's an eligibility criteria, is that when you submit that application, one of those 2 statements must not be met. And before claiming the grant, you then need to go through and complete that element of the grant criteria. The final thing under the eligibility is that for this pre-start, you cannot already have an existing business. So the reasoning behind it is that we want to encourage new entrepreneurs within Swansea. So if you've already got an existing business that you're currently running, I'm afraid you will not be eligible for this grant. So in terms of the funding, on the face of it, well, in fact, in reality, we're able to offer a far better deal than we were before. So up until this point, we've been running startup grants for a number of years now. And up until this point, the grant funding has been to a maximum of £1,000. So the good news is that under this current programme, under the Shared Prosperity Fund, we can now offer grants of up to £10,000 for pre-start businesses. Okay, so there's far more funding available. So the first £1,000 of this has got a 95% fund attached to it, 95% funding. You will need to provide the other 5%. And for anything between £1,000 and £10,000, you'll need to provide 50% of that grant balance. Okay, so the figures might get a little bit fiddly and confusing. So there's a table here just to illustrate sort of an example of some of your overall purchase costs. So if you're looking to go for the lower amount at 1,000, the only amount that you've got to put in yourself is £50. So it's a minimal contribution to that. To get the full grant allocation of £10,000, you would need £19,050. Okay, so don't worry if sort of working out the maths of this isn't your strong suit. When you come in to complete the application form, we take you through all the calculations on this to sort of allow you to come to the right amount in terms of what grant is available to you and what proportion of that you would need to contribute yourself. But anything up to £1,000, that grant contribution on your part is minimal. It's just that 5%. So hopefully that's within sort of the affordability range of people who'd be looking to make this. The important point to note on this is that it's only for expenditure not yet incurred. Okay. So what's eligible? Broadly speaking, we would take the view that the majority of startup costs would be eligible for this. So definitely any equipment attached to the startup of your business, including tools, anything basically that you would use in the day-to-day running of your business that we would sort of view as equipment or tools. Software for running your business, if you need to buy sort of Microsoft Office package to get your business up and running, laptops, that sort of thing, that would all be eligible, and we'd include that under equipment or tools. Any training costs that you might have to get yourself the required accreditation, and then any marketing costs attached to this. So again, we take a fairly broad view of what will be eligible. When you come to submit your application, any queries that you've got around eligibility of items that you'd be looking to propose, best thing is to do to contact us and just double check that what you're looking to do would be eligible. It's far better to address these questions up front and sort of to submit the application, and we then need to go back to you because that just lengthens out the period of time. Broadly speaking, things that are not eligible would be fixed costs. So we couldn't fund the rent for your premises, we couldn't fund business rates, we couldn't fund the cost of any loans attached to your business, and we couldn't fund the salary of yourself or any staff within the business. So fixed cost, generally speaking, would not be eligible under this grant scheme. But any equipment, hardware, software that you would need would be an eligible cost. I'll hand over to Steve now, who'll cover the details of the website grant.
Okay, one of the funds that we've got is the website development grant, which is pretty self-explanatory. I suppose the one difference here is that you would have to be already incorporated with Companies House or be registered as self-employed. So in our terms, being an established business to be eligible to apply for this grant. Okay. Under the terms of SPF, we do allow individuals to apply for two different grants, okay, within our grants package. So this one, if you are looking to potentially set up a website as part of your plans with regards to your business, once you say for example that you are successful in applying for the startup grant, and then you register the business, you can then apply for this website development grant to support you with the costs of setting up the business. Alternatively, we may have people on this call who have already incorporated their company with Companies House or are registered with HMRC as self-employed. That would make you ineligible for the pre-start grant, as Matt says, but you can still apply for this website development grant as well. So it's available to existing businesses. Also, it is around the development of a website for the first time or enhancement of site which already exists. In most cases, guys, you probably haven't even set up a website if that's what you're looking to do. This is a good avenue for you guys to get some support with actually doing that. It can also include digital marketing or search engine optimization if in conjunction with the website work. So next slide, please, Matt. So how much is the fund? So it's up to £1,500. The grant is. It's there's a 50% match funding requirement from the applicant. So say, for example, you go out for 2 quotes from a web developer and they come in at, say, the lowest one comes in at £3,000. You can potentially apply for a £1,500 grant to put towards it, providing it's approved before the works take place. I think this is something that we delivered in our last round of funding. It was very successful, and a lot of established businesses took benefit of it, but it also allowed them to raise their company's profile digitally and online. So if you are looking to set up a website, by all means get in touch with us with regards to this grant. I think it will be extremely useful for you to do so. Back to Matt.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So there are some common elements that are true of not just these 2 grants, but all the grants that we're going to be running. The first of which, and it may sound obvious, but your business must be based within the Swansea Council local authority area. So if you're not sure of that, check with us again with your postcode or your council tax or business rate statement. That will show you which local authority you're based within. And by based, we mean the business must be operating from that address that you give us. Okay. So other local authorities neighbouring us will have similar schemes. If you are outside Swansea, check with those. But in terms of the schemes that we're covering today, this applies to the Swansea Council area only. Okay. So there's a few things that we will require you to provide. The first of which is a business plan or summary and a 12-month cash flow forecast. Now, I won't cover these in detail because the second half of our session today is going to be focused on these particular areas. So it might sound a bit intimidating or worrying, but just to say that support is available out there to help you with these if you're not sure where to start, how to go about that. So don't be put off sort of the need to provide these 2 documents, because help is available both today and subsequent to this session as well. So we'll cover that in the second half of the session, but just to put the marker in that is something that we will look at, and when we come to assess your grant, the panel will look in some detail at the business plan and summary that you provided, just so we've got an understanding of what it is you're looking to do and sort of how you're going to go about running the business in your initial months of trading. Okay. We'll need 2 evidence quotes, of which only the lowest can be paid. So the reason behind this is to ensure that both we as funders and you as individuals are getting the best value for money. Okay. So what we mean by evidence quotes would be a supplier written quote. It might be a website link. It might be a website link, a website screenshot. We just need to see basically that you've sourced 2 quotes. We need to be able to see where that quote has come from. And again, the ability to provide 2, just so that we can see that you've sort of done a bit of shopping around and you've made sure that you're getting the best price possible for that. There may be exceptional circumstances where you only get 1 quote. So for example, if you're taking on very specific training that only 1 provider is able to offer you, in certain circumstances, we understand that it may not be possible to get those 2 quotes. If that's the case, get in touch with us, let us know. If there are good reasons for that, we can then look at that, and that shouldn't be a problem. But for everything else where 2 quotes is available, 2 like-for-like quotes, again, provide that. And that like-for-like is important. So if you're looking to, we wouldn't want you to provide a bottom of the range laptop from Currys versus top of the range MacBook, for example, as best as you can, we'd want those two quotes to be like for the same product, but from two different distributors. Okay. You'll need two forms of ID showing your address, one of which must be photographic. So it could be a driving license, a passport. What else might you provide? Any two forms of ID, council tax statement, anything like that, just to sort of verify that the details on your application match with the address on your ID. So that's just sort of a security check on our behalf. And a new addition that we've had to include because of sort of government guidance, the first of which is a safeguarding policy if your business is going to be working with children and or vulnerable adults, an equalities policy, just to make sure that you're dealing with the equalities element of your business. Now, again, these might sound a little bit intimidating and you might feel you don't know where to start. On the application form, we've got links to two templates that make that process far less intimidating and worrying than it sounds on the face of it. So those templates will guide you through all the things you need to think about. It will provide you with the wording on that. So all you've got to do is fill in your business details, a little bit of detail about how you're going to address these things, and then that should take you through the process that you need to go with on that. So don't worry too much about that. Those templates are there, that support and guidance is there. And there's also some questions about your use of the Welsh language. Again, a requirement that we are asked to provide because we're a local authority based in Wales, just what you're going to do in terms of addressing the use of the Welsh language. Again, not to worry too much about that. It might just be a note on there to say there's a service through Business Wales called Hello Blod, which is a free translation service. And it might just be you putting on there that where I need to, I will go through Hello Blod to get work translated into Welsh as and where required. So again, not to worry too much about that. I certainly wouldn't want you being put off submitting an application off the back of that. But again, they are requirements that we require you to complete in terms of the application. So we need you to do that. And if you didn't provide that on the first time, all it's going to do is just slow down your application in terms of us needing to go back to you and saying, we need these documents in order for you to be able to progress with your application. So yeah, it's there, but not to worry about it too much. And again, some final comment elements. Applicants must make sure that they have no arrears on council tax or business rates. So when we submit your application, part of the requirement that we'll need from you is that we will go to our colleagues in council tax and business rates. And if you've got any arrears on either of those two bills, i.e. you owe the council money, unfortunately, our position is that because you owe the council money, we can then not provide you with grant funding. So again, if that's an issue that you're aware of, you would need to address that before you submit the application. And again, make us aware of it because we will check. And if that problem does exist, it will flag up when we make that check. So again, best thing is to be upfront and honest about this. And then we can look at sort of how we address that as and when that arises, if indeed it's an issue. I mentioned this already, but it must be expenditure not yet incurred. So anything that you've already bought that you're going to be using for the business, we cannot fund that as part of this grant application. So the process would be, you would complete your application, you'd put a list of the items you're looking to purchase or the services you're looking to purchase. Okay. If you are approved for that grant, you will then effectively have the green light to go ahead and make that purchase. And then you will submit your claim form and we will pay those costs up to the value of the grant back to you. Okay, so do not incur any of that expenditure before your grant has been considered and approved by the grant panel, because it will not be eligible for any funding at that point. So I mentioned that we've got 5 grant schemes. Applicants can apply for up to 2 of those 5. So in this case, you could apply for our pre-start grant and the website development grant, but you can only apply to either scheme once. So you couldn't submit a grant scheme to the startup grant now and then come back for that at a further date. I guess you wouldn't be able to do that anyway, but you couldn't submit 2 separate applications. So you couldn't submit a grant to the application to the website grant to start your business. And then if you wanted to add e-commerce 6 months down the line, that's not something that you'd be able to do. Okay, so up to 2, but only one of these at any given time. Okay. So the process is that you will request an application form. The application form is about 5 pages long. To be honest, if you've got your business plan and cash flow up together and in a good place, the application form will be quite straightforward, because lots of the questions that we ask you on the application form are, what's your business? What are you going to do? What's the plan for the business? So if your business plan is up and together, the rest of the application form shouldn't be too daunting for you. The rest of it is just name, address, and a few sort of details about yourself, really. Okay, so it might look daunting at first, but again, that business plan, we'll keep coming back to it, is a really important document that you work on, spend some time getting right, because it will help you in terms of taking this application forward. When you're happy with the application and you've got all your supporting documents up and together, you will then send that back to us. It's a Microsoft Word application form, so it needs to be completed electronically. When it's all together, you'll send the application form back to us along with all the supporting documents, and then myself or Steve will initially check through the application form itself and all the supporting documents. Okay, if we've got any queries at that point, we will then come back to you, but providing everything is up and together, we will then take that to a grant panel, which consists of 5 officers within the council, who will then look at the application form and all your supporting documents that go with that. Myself or Steve, whoever takes care of the application, will write a covering report, and that covering report will have recommendation for approval or otherwise based upon what we feel is the right thing to do with the application. So once you submit your application, be ready to respond to any inquiries that come back from myself or Steve, because we will look through that sort of within a few days of it coming back to us, and we will then respond to it. So if we come back to you, please be ready to respond to any questions that we might have, because delay in doing so will just hold up the application process and will mean that it's a longer period of time before you can start incurring that expenditure. So I'm a little bit cautious about putting exact timescales on it, because it's subject to the volume of applications that we're working through. But I would hope that within 2 to 4 weeks of your application being sent to us, we could get that grant application to a grant panel to be able to review the document and come back to you with a response on the outcome of your application. Okay. So the grant panel itself, I mentioned there's 5 officers on that. The majority of people within that grant panel will not know anything about your business. So again, it comes back to this reason of why that business plan is really important, because myself or Steve will have been in contact with you and liaise with you. So we will know the details of your application. But another reason that grant business plan is really important is that most people who are looking at that application will only be judging it on the details of your written submission. So it's just worth bearing that in mind, that we can't assume that they'll know everything about your business, because they are basing that decision on the paperwork, electronic paperwork that you provide. So if all goes well and we approve your application, you will receive an offer letter saying, congratulations, you've been approved for this grant. We are awarding you whatever it might be, £1,000, £2,000. From that point, you will have 4 weeks to complete your claim. Okay, so that means a couple of things. That means you'll either need to complete one of those 2 criteria I mentioned at the very start, which is registering with HMRC to become self-employed, or registering your business with Companies House. And you'll also need to incur that expenditure and then provide us with evidence of that expenditure. And that includes bank statements, credit card statements, receipts from vendors that you've bought the items from. So we will need to see a paper trail that you've incurred that expenditure. And most importantly, it is you personally that has incurred that expenditure. So if you get approved, it can't be any relative or friend of you that makes that expenditure. We can only pay it back to the named applicant, the applicant named on the application, and that must match with the bank statements that you provide. Okay, so it must be you that incurs that expenditure. So finally then, a few top tips. I've laboured this point, but it is worth mentioning again. Ensure your business plan and cash flow is well constructed. because for the reasons I've mentioned, the grant panel, we are judging our decision based upon detail that you put within that. What I would say is be realistic and honest with your growth ambitions. So don't put that your business is going to be turning over £1 million within 6 months. We would far rather that you're realistic and honest. And if the business isn't going to turn a profit for the first 3 months, say that, because we have turned down or kicked back applications in the past where we think growth ambitions are far too ambitious and we're not sure that that growth can be achieved. So I would far rather that you were honest and realistic with that than putting in something inflated because you think it will impress us. So again, just be realistic. If you need help with any point of the application, please contact myself or Steve, whoever is dealing with the application. It makes the process far easier if you engage with us during the application process itself than you submitting the application and needing to come back to us and us needing to come back to you with questions or queries or reminding you that things are missing. So if you're not sure of any element of it, please do contact us during that process because it does make it far easier overall. And finally, make sure that your expenditure is linked to your business plan. So what I mean by that is if you're looking to buy, for example, a laptop and software as part of your expenditure, explain to us why you need that. Why is that laptop going to help your business grow? How is it going to be part of your business going forward? So just make sure that whatever you're looking to include as part of your grant application, make it very clear as to why you need that and how that's linked back to your business plan. Okay. So we've got 5 different grants, 2 points of contact. So for the pre-start grant, that's the email address there. And for the website development grant, a slightly different email address. Both of those will be monitored by myself and Steve. So we'll pick up any queries that you might have in regard to those. And we'll aim to get back to you typically within sort of 24 hours of any inquiry that comes in. So that's all from me now. I've covered quite a bit of ground there, but I'm sure there are some questions, but any queries that you've got, more than happy to pick those up as and when.
Thanks, Matt. That's great. A couple of things to add from myself. With regards to this funding, it is in place until the end of 2024, providing we don't use up all funds. So the key thing there is, you have some time. You do have some time to prepare that business plan and cash flow to get it up to the spec required. So I'd be very confident to say that we shouldn't run out of money by the end of this year. So there's time for you there. With regards to our previous startup grants, our Business Wales colleagues will tell you this. We have awarded quite a high level of grants, providing the information that Matt has gone through is there and is up to the required standard. And we have seen people's chances, I think, of being successful heightened by having support from other organisations such as Business Wales if they don't feel competent enough to actually deconstruct a comprehensive business plan themselves. So that's quite a key important thing to remember. I'm going to look at, we've had a few questions on the chat, which I'll go through first. If you have any questions, guys, we've got until 1:45 before I hand over to Business Wales. Put any question in the chat or raise your hand. So Stephen Patrick has put a question here. Is it available to business owners who wish to start a new business in a new area? Matt covered that by saying this must be your first and only business. So if you've got multiple businesses, you're ineligible to apply. However, I would advise you to email us at growthgrant@swansea.gov.uk to inquire about our other grants. And there's a link I put in to our Eventbrite page where we are holding a briefing for our grants for established businesses, and that's taking place online on the 6th of April. So in the chat, you'll see a link to our Eventbrite page. Go on there. And if you are currently have businesses in Swansea and you're not eligible for the pre-start grant, join that briefing, and we'll give you some more in-depth information about the other grants that we've got available specifically for established businesses. So I'd encourage you to do that. Stefan, again, do the websites have to be business websites, or can they be websites designed to deliver a service? They don't specifically have to be business websites, but they have to be attributed to the business, or if you're undertaking a project within that business that requires its own website, then yes, it would be eligible for that. We have funded those in the past. So yes is the question to that, provided it's a project or a service which is attributed to your business. Okay. Hugh Francis, given the length of time it takes to set up a new business bank account for new business, which will be more than a month, does the expenditure have to be from a bank account in the name of the new staff? It can be from a personal bank account, because we recognise that there is time frames involved with setting up a business bank account. So providing if the expenditure does come from your own personal bank account, of course, it has to be in your name, and obviously from the address that's on the application form. So we'll accept we would accept claims from someone's personal bank account for this particular grant. And we've got a few people with their hands up. Right, Sally Thomas, do you want to ask us a question?
Yes, please. Morning, everybody. I've got 3 questions, so I don't know which one's going to be the best one to ask. The first one is, I am registered self-employed, but I'm looking to set up as an established business. So I want a small limited company. Am I still eligible?
Unfortunately not, Sally, because you're registered as self-employed under the definitions of pre-start from our UK government in this grant. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible. But as I've mentioned, I would encourage you to look at come to our next session on 6th of April by clicking on Eventbrite page to that briefing for people who are already self-employed or established business in Swansea, and there may be some other grants there that you'd be eligible to apply for.
Am I eligible for the web development one?
Yeah, you would be. If you're based in Swansea and meet the criteria, then I would say yes.
Good stuff. I don't need to ask the other 2 questions now then, because I'm not eligible.
Okay.
Thank you.
But hopefully we'll see you at the briefing, which is taking place on the 6th of April. Sally, please join us for that, because like Matt has said, there's some other grants available for established businesses and people who are self-employed. So please join us for that. There may be some other things there that you can apply for. Chris Smith, Max, you've got a question.
Yeah. It was just to check, just to confirm. So you can only apply to register with Companies House after you've had the letter of approval. You couldn't do it after you've just submitted the application form.
Correct.
Thank you.
Question from Ian.
Hi, yes, good morning. Yeah, it might be a little bit the same as Sally's, actually. I'm not sure exactly the same situation. So previously, I used to, I'm still unsure whether I'm going to incorporate the business, or just do it as being self-employed. Currently, I used to work as a carer in the past, self-employed, but so I have like a UTR with HMRC. But obviously with this new business that I'm setting up, I'll be setting up a business called Deep Vitality. So I'll be trading, it'd be in cabinet trading as Deep Vitality. So there's a bit of a grey area there. How does that work if I did want to just stay self-employed? So I'm currently set up, but it was from something in the past. So
unfortunately, Ian, it's strict criteria. So if you've been self-employed in the past, unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible, because it's you're outside the definition, unfortunately. And under previous schemes you would have been, Ian, okay, but unfortunately not under this one.
Okay, but I can still, if I decide to go down the Companies House road, then I can still apply for this grant.
No.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay. Ah, so okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. That's fine.
But join us on the 6th of April, Ian, because there will be potentially some other grants that you would be interested in applying for. So come and join us on that.
Okay. Grand stuff. Okay. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Question from Shahid. Shahid, you're on mute. You're on mute, Shahid.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I can see a few of my clients sitting there. Ali, Ihor. So hi, good morning, everyone. Steve, my question is, like you said, one of the criteria is the business could have been registered with HMRC or the company hadn't been formed when they apply for the grant. But a lot of people do register as a limited company and leave that as a dormant company. But
I know.
So it is still the case, yeah?
Yeah, it is.
Even the company hadn't started trading.
Yeah, still the case, because it's just from the guidelines that we've received. Again, previously under previous schemes, you would have accepted that from dormant companies, but if they are registered, irrespective of whether they're trading or dormant, unfortunately ineligible. The specific definitions and guidelines are strict under this funding scheme, unfortunately, which is unfortunate.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. And Adi, I will answer your question with regards to the cash flow later. Is that okay? Thank you.
Fionn Jones.
Hiya, yeah. This is I asked a question in the chat that Matt's answered, but I just want to sort of elaborate on that. So if I'm in the process of setting up a website already, so the draft is done, but it's not live, would I be able to cover the costs of running that website and finalising it under the website grant? So I'm probably about 80% done.
Matt, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, I didn't catch all of it because I was just reading down the chats and picking up.
Yeah, so
no, the answer for you on it would be no. I was pass on to Matt because he answered the question, but unfortunately, so basically, work has already started and has been undertaken. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Unfortunately, from the scenario you're giving me, I would say unfortunately not.
Okay, so the website grant is just for brand new websites from scratch.
No, did you say that this particular scenario, you've got an existing website, correct?
Yeah, so draft website not yet live, but
not yet live.
Yeah, about 80% done. So sort of the development cost of that has been sorted, but I'm just thinking about finishing the website and then the hosting costs afterwards to get it live.
I would say hosting cost isn't eligible. It's additional functionality that the website can cover for websites that are already established.
Okay.
So it could be SEO, marketing, if you want to include sort of online ordering, perhaps something like that. So additional functionality. Hosting, I don't believe will be eligible, would it, Matt?
It depends. I mean, it potentially could be. But we couldn't pay ongoing hosting costs. We would need to see that as part of the website package that you were having undertaken.
Right. Okay.
So it would need to be a package overall, I think, that the web developer was looking to provide for you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay. And was there any other points in the chat, Matt, that you wanted to cover?
I've done my best in replying to them as best as I can, but I'll keep having a look, and if anything else crops up, I'm happy to keep monitoring that and answer as I can.
Okay, excellent. Right, guys, we'll move on to the next part of the session then. If there is anything else you want to ask about the pre-start grant, put in the chat and we'll respond. So we've got Howell and Shahid from Business Wales here today. You're going to provide an overview of the business plan and cash flow forecast. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to put their presentation up, and then I am going to hand over to them. So can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine, Steve. Thank you very much. Good morning,
you.
everyone. I'm Howell Bassett. I'm a business advisor with Business Wales. I'll be doing the first half of the session, explaining a bit about the business plan, and then I'll hand you over to my work colleague, Shahid, after about 20 minutes, who'll talk you through a cash flow forecast. First of all, I'll explain that Business Wales, right, is a Welsh Government support service, right, to both pre-start and established businesses. So all the services that we provide in Business Wales are free to the customer. Now, we run workshops and webinars to guide you through the starting your business process, right? And we also run workshops to help you to grow and develop your business. Now, much of the work that we do in Business Wales is assisting our clients with their business planning and assisting clients with drawing up a cash flow forecast and perhaps a profit and loss forecast for their business. Now, writing a business plan is one of the most important tasks that you'll need to consider, right, when you're starting up a new business or if you're looking to grow the business. The plan is a way of setting out your business idea, you're planning for the future of your business, and showing that your business idea is realistic and workable. Now, if you're thinking of applying for any funding support, right, most funders will request a copy of your business plan and your cash flow forecast. Now, the plan will help you and the funders to decide whether your business will be commercially viable. The plan itself is a working document, right, that you'll need to revisit from time to time as your business idea develops, and change the plan and alter it and adapt it to how your business is operating at that time. So try and make your plan initially as brief and as clear and as simple as possible. And I think Matt mentioned that earlier. And if you're using a set template or a business plan template, make sure that you answer the questions on the template thoroughly, and that the information in the plan, right, matches the information in the funding application. Now, if you're considering applying for funding, particularly if you're considering applying for funding support. So the plan then needs to be realistic, right, and convince investors that the business can be successful. You can use the business plan as well as a tool to monitor your own business progress against the targets that you'll have set out in your plan. Now, as a general rule, the more funding that you are applying for, the more detail you need to include in your business plan. Now, in the short time that we've got this morning, right, I'll run you through a typical business plan and the information that you'd need to include in that business plan. We've got a very simple business plan template there up on the screen, and that's the cover of the front page of the plan that you see there. Now, the cover page is quite forward, right, but it's always a good idea. Your address, your postcode, telephone number, contact number, what you're going to call the business, what's the business name, and who's complied the business plan. So this is a very simple business plan. And then the plan itself will ask you a series of questions, right? So the first question there is quite a simple question. What business will you be operating? When do you expect to start running your business? Who's going to be involved in the business? Are you thinking of trading as a sole trader, perhaps? Are you thinking of setting up a limited company, or perhaps forming a partnership? Or are you thinking of setting up perhaps a community interest type of company? Now, it's important that you tell us who's going to be involved in the business and what's the legal structure of the business. And then if you look at point 4 there, what are your short-term objectives for the business? What do you hope to achieve within 12 months, in the first 12 months? What do you hope to get to in the first 12 months? And what are your longer-term objectives then for the business, perhaps 3 to 5 years? Now, point 5 there, right, on this particular business plan template, it's always a good idea to give a bit of personal background. I think personally it's a good idea, right, to attach a personal CV to your business plan, right? Showing your work experience, your qualifications, and give a bit of background information about yourself. So whoever's reading the plan has a picture of you as a person. Now, most business plan will include what's known as a SWOT analysis. That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So as far as your strengths go as an individual, right? What skills do you have? What product knowledge do you have? And how determined are you as an individual that this business succeeds? Have you got any weaknesses? Now, have you run a business before, perhaps? What experience have you got? Do you need to borrow any money? Now, that could be regarded as perhaps a weakness, right? Because if you borrow money, you're going to have to pay it back, and you're going to have to show that you've got the ability to pay that money back in your business plan. Perhaps you've never run a business before and you haven't had experience, but I think it's a good point to mention there, if you haven't had experience of running a business before, that you are possibly getting help and support from an organisation like Business Wales or Swansea City Council, isn't it really, who are helping and guiding you through the process. Point 8 there on this particular business plan template, right? Opportunities. What opportunities will the business bring? Is there scope to develop and grow this business as the business grows? And then point 9 there is threats, right? Who are your competitors? Who will you be competing with? And how will what you've got to think about, how you will be able to improve or better the service that your competitors perhaps are already providing. So think about in your strengths and your SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, that's a big part of most business plans, that is. And if you scroll down a bit now to point 10, it's always a good idea, right? And we do a bit of market research guidance on our Starting Your Business webinars, right? You've got to think when you're doing your market research, who are your potential customers, right? Who is going to buy your products or your services, right? And what is your target market, right? What does the individual that you or business look like that you're hoping to sell your products and services to? And point 11 there, how many of them are there, right? What is the size of the market locally, perhaps, right? Or perhaps you're thinking of spreading your market further afield, perhaps, right? Or if you're providing an online service, right? You might be providing a national or an international target market. And point 12 there then, how are you going to deliver your product and service to the customer? How are you going to reach your target market? Are you going to be offering a face-to-face service? Are you going to be offering an online services? Or are you going to be selling products face-to-face or online? So you need to explain there how you deliver your products and services to your customers. And the other point you need to consider there in point 13, why would your customers want to buy from you rather than one of your competitors? What's going to stand you out in the crowd as a business? What's special about your business? And what is your main unique selling point as a business? Now, all those will help you, right? All those points there will help you develop your market research. And that's quite an important aspect of the business plan, is to show that you've done some research already and you might have already got some customers on board. So point 14 then on this particular template, right, is who are your competitors and what is the size of the market? What prices do your competitors charge, perhaps? And how will you be able to compete with your competitors? And how large is your target market? Point 15 there, how are your competitors likely to react to your challenge of you opening a business? Do you think your competitors are going to be upset by you opening a business? But it's often a good idea, right, in some instances, to work alongside your competitors, right? Because perhaps if they're busy, they might be able to send you some of their work that they've got in the books if they're too busy, right? So, be aware of the competitors around you and how you're going to fit into that environment, really. And the next section of this particular template is advertising and promoting your business. Describe what products and services you'll be providing or offering to your clients, and what benefit will your customers get from your products and services. And I think point 17, where it says product service B, what they're indicating there, are there any products perhaps that you'd be thinking, or services that you'd be thinking of bringing on in the future as the business develops and as the business grows? Shows then that you're thinking one step ahead. So how and where will you advertise your business is point 18 there. How are you going to advertise and promote your business? Are you going to have a website? Use social media channels for marketing? Are you going to get some business cards, leaflets, or flyer drops, right? Or are you going to conduct some local advertising? So you've got to make clear, right, how you intend to reach your target market, right? And how, when, and where you will advertise your business. And I think 19 there to about 24 on this plan, right? Have you already got some potential customers? You know, you might be ready to, you might have already done some market research, and yes, you've got interested clients. Well, if you have got clients that are already willing to buy your products or your services, why not list them there and tell us a bit about those customers, isn't it really? Now, we're going to reach now the final part of this particular template. It's quite a simple template, right, where they talk about pricing, right? How much does it cost you to make or to buy in your products, right? And how much does it cost you to provide, or how much does it cost you to provide your service? How much will the market stand, right? Because, you know, you are going to have to be competitive, you know, unless you're offering something very special, right? So how much are you going to charge for your products or your services? What is your gross and your net profit margins? Now, you might not know what a gross profit and net profit margin is at this stage, right? But those are important considerations, right, which will work with you in Business Wales to help you to understand your profit and loss account and your gross and your net profit margin on your products and services that you provide. And then the last sort of question on this particular business plan, what sort of value for money will you be able to provide your customers? And, you know, what's going to make your customers want to buy your products and services? So that in a nutshell then is a basic business plan, right? It's all information, basic information that you would need, and I'm sure that you could elaborate on those particular boxes there. If you can do that, that would be great, right? Now, Shahid, now my work colleague, will talk you through, right? There's another tab at the bottom of this particular template, which is called the cash flow forecast tab, right? There's year one, we only got 1 year template, 1 year cash flow forecast on this template. So I'll call in on Shahid, now my work colleague, to tell you a bit about what you need to do about drawing up a cash flow forecast, what you need to think about. Thank you very much. Shahid.
Thank you, Howell.
Yeah, right.
Hello, everyone. I am Shahid Islam. I'm one of the business advisors working for Business Wales. I work alongside Howell. I will go through the cash flow forecast with you. The cash flow forecast is the integral part of your business. Basically, it's the blood of your business. As Matt very kindly mentioned before, be realistic with your assumption. Don't be over optimistic or don't be too pessimistic. In here, as you can see, you got all the names of the month as to when you're going to be starting your business. Say if you're going to start your business in April, put April there, then April 2023 to March 2024 would be your first year of trading. So it's very important that you put the name of the month rather than putting 1, 2, 3, 4, because readers, whoever is going to judge your grant application or the funding application, they need to have an idea as to when you're likely to start the business. And the top line of this cash flow forecast, and it is the first part of the cash flow forecast, which is income. The income can come from different sources. The first, your main source of income should come from the sale of your product. So the sale you're going to generate in the first month, whatever the nature of your business, whether it's a service or it's a product you're going to sell, make best assumption of how much you're likely to earn in the first month. And you only can make the assumptions. Of course, quite often we have been asked that questions. How do I know how much I'm going to earn in the first month? Of course, it's a gray area, but this is why the research is so important. You got to have a fair knowledge of your customers, the price you're going to charge, and a bit of knowledge of the industry that you're entering into. So based on your research and the market information you gather, you can make an assumption. As a bricklayer, for a bricklayer to say I'm going to earn £100 a day, he's not being too optimistic. It is about going rate £100 to £150, and it's a very reasonable assumption to make. If the bricklayer going to work 5 days a week, £500 a week makes £2,000 a month. So in the first month, the bricklayer is going to say £2,000. So in order to start the business, probably the bricklayer needs £5,000 for equipment. So where is that that 5,000 going to come from? He might say, I'm going to apply for £1,000 grant with City and County of Swansea. So under this grant section, £1,000 here. So still he got a shortfall of £4,000 because he needs £5,000. So other 4,000 might come from his own contribution, family contribution. Maybe he might consider a loan. So if he is borrowing money, £4,000 as loan, that should go there as an income in the first month. And it should also go under expenses as a loan, the borrowed amount there. So it's just come in and gone out. So, sorry, Steve, can you put that back on, please?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Has it gone?
It is there. Yeah,
it is there.
It's fine now.
Yeah.
So
okay.
The first month of trading, if we look at the income section, so the bricklayer is going to earn £2,000 by providing his service. So that £2,000 come from the service he provided. £1,000 came from City and County of Swansea. That made £3,000. He borrowed £4,000, came as a loan. So 3,000 and 4,000, 7,000. That 7,000 go into the total column. Then second month, he might say, well, I'll keep same as first month because it's still new business. I'm not going to be earning much more than £2,000 in second month. Maybe month 3, he will have more knowledge of the market. Other people will get to know, providing he done some marketing and advertisement, or probably will get some word of mouth advertising. He might say, okay, I'm confident enough to say I'm going to earn 2,200 in month 3, 2,400 in month 4. Then 2,600 in month 5. So when he is going to earn 2,600, he got to ask himself the question, am I able to do everything on my own, or do I need to bring a part-timer? So by bringing a part-timer, he got additional hand. So following month, he can say, I'm going to be earning £3,000, and it's not going to be unrealistic because he got to pay the part-timer from the income that he brings. So you increase your turnover, and as you increase your turnover, you also need to look at your manpower and the ability of delivering the service. So if the bricklayer kept increasing his turnover month by month and saying, I'm going to be earning £4,000 per month, then the funder might raise the questions. Okay, in order to earn £4,000 a month, you have to work 12 hours or maybe 15 hours a day. Is it possible? So in that case, he might turn and say, no, I'm not going to be delivering everything myself. I'm going to be having another pair of hands with me. So, and they might turn and say, okay, you haven't put the salary or the wage you're going to pay him in the cash flow forecast. Therefore, here you can see the salary or the wage you're going to pay your employee. So that needs to go under expenses column, expenses section. Then the top line is your income that comes from selling a product or providing a service. Then your expenses, your major expenses is going to be the cost of sales. If you are selling a product, you had to buy the product, and that costs you money. As an example, if it's a restaurant trade, the first month they say we're going to earn £6,000. So they had to buy all the raw materials, the food products. So that might cost them 30% of their sales income. So if they say we are going to have a turnover of £6,000 in the first month, so minimum £2,000 is going to cost them to buy the raw materials or the product, and they will be working on 70% gross margin. Then you've got other overheads, your rents, your rates, the utility bills, the gas, electricity, water, the business rates. Then your other running expenses such as business insurance, marketing, and accountancy fee, any training. They might need food hygiene certificate, and that's a cost. So you need to make sure you look at all your outgoings, the fixed cost and the relevant running expenses, and it has to be incorporated in your business, in your cash flow forecast. The other major expense when you start a business, it can be the equipment or the capital expenditure. So if you need £5,000 for your equipment, and as I said before, the money could have come from all different sources. So when you show that money as your income on your income section, and you spend that money on buying equipment, so it should go under expenses section, capital expenditure. So if your capital expenditure is £5,000, put £5,000 there. So in first month, say your total income was £7,000 and your total expenses were £8,000. That means you got a negative balance. Your net flow would be minus £1,000. The funders would ask you that questions. Look, your business is running at a loss. So how are you going to cover that loss? Unless you have an overdraft facility agreed with your bank, or you have other means or capital behind you to cover that, you need to make sure that the level of income cover your all outgoings and it doesn't leave a negative net flow. Net flow means the total income minus your expenses give you the net flow. Then second month, you might see your net flow is better than first month because you don't have as much expenses as first month. First, when you start the business, that's when you pay majority of your expenses. Second month, you will see a better cash flow. Third month, you see the steadiness. If you have to consider taking yourself a drawing, of course, when you run a business, you need to make sure if you haven't got any other income in the family, the survival income needs to come from your business. And the funders would always raise a question on it. Like if you are not taking drawings or a salary from your business, they might ask you the questions, how are you going to survive? Your business is not showing that you can take a drawing out of it. And in that case, they might think your cash flow forecast is not viable because it's not making money for you. So how do you determine your cash flow forecast is viable? Therefore, before even you start working on your cash flow forecast, you need to know how much money you need to draw from your business every month to survive yourself and your family expenditure. This is why we would always advise you to complete the survival income budget before you start working on your cash flow forecast. You might have a mortgage, you might have utility bills, you might have children expenses, household food, then clothing. That might cost you your car expenses, personal car, the fuel, the insurance. That might cost you £10,000 a year, maybe £1,000 a month. So if your business is not going to give you that £1,000 a month to live with your family, at that point you decide, is it a viable business proposition? Is it the business that I want to go ahead with? So you relook at it and you perhaps come up with something that will give you that survival income, and you work on that business plan. So survival income is very important, and especially if you are running a business from a premises, you got two vehicles side by side, your household expenses and your business expenses. If you run a business from a premises, either you rent it or you consider the lease of the premises, there will be rent to pay. There will be business rates to pay. There will be lighting, heating, insurance, marketing costs. All this has to come from business. So you got to cover your business premises expenses from the income comes from your business and your household expenses. So you got two lots of expenses. So it is so important when you enter the business. Of course, you're entering into business to make money, to make profit, and to have a better lifestyle. But if you are not careful, if you don't work out all your costs before you enter self-employment, you may go from bad to worse. I'm not here to frighten you. We have to be very realistic because business is a challenge. So for us to be able to consider all these challenges ahead of us, we need to make sure that we start the business on the right footage. Our foundation is solid. We know exactly what we need to do when we enter self-employment. The research you need to do before you enter self-employment, and that research you need to continue when you start self-employment. As Howell has pointed out before, pricing is a key for your business. And how do you determine your prices? Like, always carry out a competitive research. You cannot sell something extraordinarily more expensive than your competitors unless it's a premium product and you are the only person who is selling that product, and nobody else in your area has got that product. So there are exceptions, but you need to know how much your product costs, and on the core product cost, you add your profit in line with your competitors. Make sure you are entering into self-employment to make profit and to have a better lifestyle. If you don't make profit, there will be no business. This is why, if, as I said before, if the cash doesn't flow every month, that means you got a negative balance and the business is not going to last long. At one point, it will come to a point that it will be no worth keeping the business anymore. You don't want to incur liability. You want to turn your losses into profit month after month. And cash flow forecast is the best tool you can use to monitor your financial performance for your business. If for any reason, say your assumption was in month 4, say May, you're going to be earning £3,000. But when you actually started running the business, you haven't reached that, you only earn £2,000. So it raises a question mark, where am I going wrong? So you just review your business plan to benefit you, and then you put necessary actions in place. Probably you haven't marketed the business properly. Probably you haven't got the product in stock that your customer wants. So cash flow forecast and business plan are the best tools to monitor ongoing performances for your business. As Howell said before, pricing, then competitive analysis. This all are very, very important for your business. And I would always advise you to seek some advice if you're not sure of something, because you entering into business, if the business makes a loss, you will be the sufferer. Yes, I will feel sorry. I probably would say I could have done more for this business, but ultimately you would be the one who would be financially in losses. So at your benefit, I would always say be realistic with your assumptions. Seek any advice that you need to seek before you start the business and when you're running the business. You have people here willing to give you free advice. Take advantage of that. You may have family members who have run businesses before. Seek their advice. You might have friends, and you can also carry out online searches. Nowadays, Google gives you most answers. However, always user intelligence. And NOMIS, NOMIS, is one of the website I would ask you to use for demographic information. As I will quickly go through the business plan, there are questions: who is going to be your customers? I had business plan completed and sent to me from clients. So everyone, how big is the market? Huge, but that's not really an answer, is it? Because the readers, it doesn't give the readers any information. How can it be everybody your customer? How can the market is huge? You always need to see the area you're going to be covering. If you are selling something local in Swansea, it's not that people from Cardiff will come and buy your product unless it's an online service. Then you can say, yes, my customers are like global customers. Customers can sit in America and buy your product. They can sit in Dubai and buy your product. But if you are selling somewhere, if it's a local shop selling their product physically, they're selling their product. And if I am reading that business plan came to me, who is your customer? Everyone. How big is your market? Very big. It doesn't really give a lot of information, especially when you apply for funding. Funders do need to see that your facts and figures have a good match and it communicates with each other. Narratives of the business plan give readers the information of who you are, what you intend to do, how you're going to develop your business, who your customers are, what do they know about your product, whereas the cash flow gives them the information, financial information of your business. They need to know the business is viable, and only way they will determine that by looking at your figures that the business is running at a profit. It had a steady increase throughout the year. It can cover all their overheads. It can service their loan, and probably you will have a chance for your loan application or the grant application to be approved. So I won't take too much of your time. I'll give you the opportunity to answer any questions. Either myself or Howell would be happy to answer your questions. So I would open the floor for you.
Okay, is there, can they get, Howell, Shahid, can they get this template anywhere? Is it available on your website?
It is.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can download a template from the Business Wales website, right? I haven't got the link handy, but if you go onto the Business Wales website and put business plan template, it'll take you to where you can download the actual template itself.
I can also circulate this to the attendees as well. I got a copy, so I could do that later on today as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Or Steve, if you think that you might have a particular template for City and County of Swansea grant, we're quite happy to work on that as well.
No, we're happy with that template.
Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, let's have a look. We've got a question here from Rich Jones. Rich, over to you.
Hi everyone, thanks for the presentations, really useful. A quick technical question about the cash flow. If you're setting up as a sole trader, should you put your own personal salary down as director's remuneration or as a salary?
No, what it is, as a sole trader, you're not a director. You're the owner of the business.
Yeah.
It has to be a limited company for you to own, you to call yourself a director. As a sole trader, you take drawings. Drawings means it doesn't have to be the same amount every month. 1 month, if the business done really well, you might think, well, I'll take £2,000 this month. Another month, you might say, I'll only take 1 month. So you draw as and when you need, and depends on how much you need. Basically, as a sole trader, when you take drawings from the business, you're taking the profit away. I'll give you an example. Say your business made £30,000 profit in the first year, and you took 20,000 as a drawing, and 10,000 you left in the pot. Basically, you took that £20,000 profit away from the business. So as a sole trader, any drawing you take, take the profits from the business. Your whole income would be seen as profit, even if your drawings is profit.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. As of course, as a limited company, you take the director's remuneration, whether you fix it, I'll take £10,000 a year or £15,000 a year. And you can take the profit as a limited company as dividend. The benefit you got by taking the profit as dividend, you don't pay a national insurance contribution on the dividend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shahid. If you require Business Wales support, I think I'm right in saying this, Howell and Shahid, they just go on the website and they can register their details or phone the contact number, and then they'll register their details. So then Business Wales will get back in touch with them to arrange a webinar, then further support from an advisor. Is that still correct?
Yes, there's a North 3000 number, I think, on the website, which they ring, right? They register you for some help and support. They'll decide perhaps whether you need to go on a start in your business or grow in your business webinar, and you'll ultimately then be put through to an advisor once you've done some initial training, if that's what you want, or you might get support from an advisor straight away, depending on what the client relationship officer will think is best for you at that particular time.
Or you can contact our head office directly, and someone would be always at the end of the phone to answer your call. And the number is 01656 868 500. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll also, following this, I will send out an email with some of this information and some links. But just to let you know, on Thursday, the 23rd of March, where ourselves and Business Wales and a couple of other partners will be doing the Swansea One-Stop Self-Employment Shop in the Quadrant Centre. And that's going to be taking place on Thursday, 23rd of March from 11 till 2 p.m. I will send you out the poster. So if you want to come and see us in person, we'll be there. And we're there to answer any particular queries, whether it be about grants, support, business planning, etc. So take advantage of the opportunity to come and see us in person. So before we leave, Shahid, Howell, anything else to add?
No, thank you for giving us the opportunity.
No, thanks for your time.
And
thank you.
I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Great. And Matt, anything from you?
Only just to emphasise the point that please do use the support available to you, because it is there. It is free to access, and it will make the process of submitting your application far easier. So do please make use of it because it's there.
Okay, excellent. Okay, everyone, thanks very much for attending today. I think it's been a very useful session, very informative. Thanks to our partners again, Business Wales, for supporting us. And hopefully we'll be hearing from you sometime soon. So all the best, take care, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. I will send out an email in due course. Thank you all.